is it enough for these woke left people? Is it ever enough? I think not. I have a couple of videos I wanted to react today. One of which is about I followed this channel Vara. I think I've reacted to one of her other videos before, up on the channel, and she's really good. So I definitely want you guys to check her out. Highly recommend, because she gives you the real, and that's I follow. The people I typically follow, they aren't just like biased one way or the other. They give you the real, fair, even split. They give it to both sides, and without none of that shield crap. I want honest takes. That's who I usually follow. I highly encourage you guys to probably follow those as well, and not just liking it because I don't want to give back critiques. Because I don't want to. Yeah, it's like just stop being chicken. Just like give your honest takes. Even if you don't, if you watch something, you don't have to just like it just for the sake of like not want to ruffle any feathers. If it's honestly good, okay, but you can't just avoid like the negativities, or water down the negativities so you can get like invited to places or whatever. It's scummy, but I digress. I want to talk about this video. Very dark. Talk about these super woke people, specifically coming from the LGBT plus community, when it comes to Marvel Rivals and representation. Now, of course, if you guys have been following me, I've been a huge fan of the Marvel Rivals game. That and Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel is probably like my favorite ongoing games. I've just been like knee deep in it in the past handful of years now. And it's just, we can't have nothing without the certain people on the left just like keep like encroaching on things to, it's either just make their own stuff or leave things well enough alone. So so like the video, leave a comment below, and definitely follow Vera Dark, and we'll see her takes, and I'm gonna pause here and there and give my little critiques here, because it's been the last straw several projects ago, but this is like really kind of irked me because I love Marvel Rivals. It's a very well done game, and Deadpool will be coming out in the next couple of days, so this is like, it's always something. You can't enjoy anything without someone like trying to want to add something that doesn't need to be added.
Marvel Rivals has been under attack from the Access media since this title's release, and it doesn't look like that's going to stop anytime soon. But months ago, The Gamer had written this massive hit piece on the game saying fans were so furious over its lack of queer couples, and now the developers have addressed questions about this LGBTQ content, and they basically said, yeah, we just want to put what we want in the game, and there are some sensitive snowflakes melting down over this. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I don't think that the developers had to make this statement. They didn't have to talk to the gamer. Maybe they felt this would bring them in a few extra bucks, who knows? But the problem is that the wokies that are against them do not forgive, and they do not forget. Even if tomorrow they made every single character LGBTQ LGBTQIA plus XYZ, the media would still say, well, we remember that you didn't have these characters in the game in the first place. We remember you didn't cater to us months ago, so we're still not going to purchase your product. And really, what the developers are doing is saying they are more concerned with making a good game instead of a game that pushes a certain agenda. And this is not the answer that some snowflakes wanted.
See, this is, and I'm glad the developers are standing on business on this one, because this is a problem with certain industries. Like, speaking of Marvel, the Marvel comics, that we've been like inundated with people who probably don't read much comics at all, but you got certain activists and in these rooms where they shouldn't probably be, most of which probably can't write their way out of a paper bag. But all it is, it's not, instead of making great stories, it's all about pushing a certain narrative. That's why he still sticks into my craw about what they did to Iceman, who, like Tony Stark, like Johnny Storm, it was known to be a player. But the writer at that time, I forgot his name, it kind of either bowed down to this these people, or just got brainwashed into this activism trap and thought it was like a good idea to just like retroactively take a well-known character who does not have a history of being gay and just have Jean Grey. It was in like the mid 2000s when this happened, and it's like, come on, Bobby, you're. It was during the time, it was some story where like the younger X-Men time travel into the present day, and seeing all the stuff going on. It was like a whole thing, but young Bobby Drake see the older Bobby Drake, and it was like it's like a whole. They were sort of pushed to stay like, oh well, there's always been people hiding in the closet, and they played the whole straight thing, and hooked up with a lot of women to conceal what they really are inside. This whole BS, like, that is like a consistent thing. I'm not saying that it does not happen. I'm pretty sure it has happened to certain homosexual people, but it's not like a staggering amount. You're just using it as an excuse to push a certain narrative, like, I don't know, reap some kind of benefits off the back of the particular LGBTQ. And it's just annoying. It's so in your face. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Even certain gay people like are kind of like, what are we doing here? Why? I just want like same-sex marriage and not be treated any different. That's all. And that's where it should have stopped. After like they got legalized to get married and their marriage to be recognized, blah blah blah. That should be it. But no, there's gotta be more, and that's before you get some of them a little irritated, because like, I didn't need to see myself in every little thing imaginable, from comics to TV shows to video games to movies. It's just you don't need all that stuff. But now we got Marvel Rivals, where you got certain people that can't just leave well enough alone. Not to saying there isn't legitimate like characters that are of that community, but they're not the majority, and they're trying to make it the majority. And since people won't often respond, unless you write good stories around it, won't respond to new characters that they should create if they want to have a proper representation, but they're lazy and they want like a quick fix, and so let's just apply our stuff onto well-established characters and especially the X-Men during the Krakoa era. You got Kitty Pryde in a all of a sudden she's bisexual now, and it's like she wasn't like that. You're pushing it and you're using the excuse of, oh, they're X-Men. They're always talking about marginalized groups and stuff like that. That's a shield, okay? Sure, that was part of the creation, backstory of what inspired the X-Men. Part of it, but you're trying to like, it's disingenuous. I'm hard pressed to believe that's what they really think. They using it as an excuse. Oh, we got a built-in excuse, so we can just let's make Hank McCoy into bestiality because hey, they're marginalized groups. We can just fit that in. No, and they won't stop. And like Vara said, they won't be satisfied even if they. And there's been certain companies and certain writers caved into these people. It's never enough. Even if you say something and you apologize for it, they don't think you're sincere, and they pretty much want you to bend over and take it every time. No pun intended. But it's never enough. And you gotta, you created a good IP, you created a good movie or a TV show, whatever, organically. You don't need to hear from the few out of the masses. They're either gonna like it or not. And it's gonna coincide into the next video that I'm gonna talk about after I'm done with this.
So, there was this exclusive interview they did where it says Marvel Rivals devs respond to the game's lack of queer content. We always take inspiration from the relationships in Marvel Comics. Imagine getting to sit down with the Marvel Rivals developers and instead of asking them about their plans for the future of the game and characters they want to add and how they want to expand and grow their player base, you ask them about the lack of queer content. It just goes to show that the people that are writing these articles, these journalists, are more focused with politics instead of good entertainment. I understand.
And that's the thing. Look, I use this as an example because I think it's like a good example I can point to. John Constantine is a well-known bisexual. Is there from the beginning. He is an original character. But it isn't about the character wasn't created just for the sole purpose of being acknowledged for his sexuality. No, he has a long-standing history of having stories behind like horror and supernatural and all that stuff. And in between that, sprinkled in, is some relationship primarily with Zatanna, but here and there's also some one night stands, with certain guys. But that isn't like all in your face. There isn't like that. He doesn't make it his whole character. That's how you do it. It's just like they're not competent writers. A smart writer knows this. If you want queer representation, make your own stuff, an original thing, and let the chips fall where they may. If there's an audience for it, then they will come. But the audience that you think they'll like it isn't that many of them. They're in probably the upwards of 20,000 if I'm being generous, or whatever. It's like the movie Bros, as the director who's a gay man is complaining or I don't know if he's directed and the main star or just the main star. But either way, he back when that came out, he's complaining on social media about not enough people come to see this movie because they're homophobes or something like that. No, they're just not that. Hey, there's not that many people in your community that will want to go see it, And if they are from that community, it doesn't guarantee that they feel interested in one iota of going to see it. And the vast majority of people just don't care. It's not because I'm pretty sure there are people who are homophobes, legit homophobes, but you wasn't expecting them to like, oh, bros, they totally changed their mind. I gotta like, no, they was never gonna see your stuff. And the vast majority of people are just just indifferent about it. It's just like, not everybody sees everything. There's some things even you think is gonna be their cup of tea. We'll see it probably later and might have a change of opinion. Who knows? There's there's quite a few movies that, or at least how about this? Good example. I like comic books, but when the Green Arrow show came out, I didn't initially go see it. It wasn't until the second season where I actually checked it out, where I was a little bit more turned around about it, because I just thought, oh, they couldn't get Batman, so they just tried to turn Oliver Queen into Batman. They still kind of did, but I got turned around on it because of the actor involved, Stephen Amell, that really endeared me to his interpretation of Green Arrow. Then I proceeded to watch from that moment moving forward. But it's all about like finding an audience, and if they weren't there initially, you will get them eventually if the product, the writing, and the characters are very layered. It isn't just about their sexuality. You have to try. And don't get butthurt if it isn't like everybody in the world didn't spend that hard-earned money to go crowd the theaters just to see like your trans, lesbian, queer, paraplegic, Native American lady that's going through a hardship about being seen. Sorry. There isn't that many demographics that give a fuck.
Maybe asking them like one question like, hey, do you know that there has been a small group of people requesting more of this content on social media? But that's not what they did, and they wrote an entire article about this. So it says Marvel Rivals 5th season, the season of love, started with promise. It canonized the Loki and Mantis ship and introduced the power couple Rogue and Gambit to the game. But while many enjoyed Rivals Love Fest, its queer community had concerns. The game made small references to queer relationships within the game's universe, like Angela mentioning her spouse by name during in-game banter, but never explicitly stating they were married. But it paled in comparison to the amount of screen time that Marvel's heterosexual couples
and it can't be said. If you play the game, you know full well that Angela made a reference to her girlfriend. Sorry, it wasn't like in your face, so that way you can, get off on it. You got something like Has Been Hotels. Has Been Hotel, singular. Pretty good TV show. Has a plethora of people of the LGBTQ variety, and like, don't get me started on the shippers because they get on my freaking nerves. They're trying to push that super gay spider with what's his name, Keith David's character. I forgot his character he voices. Trying to push those two together. That's nauseating because I'm not sure how Keith David feels. I guess he doesn't really care at his age. But it's just like, if it was me, it's like, no. If you're thinking about pushing my character into this a relationship, like, no, I'm not down with that. Let's just let them be platonic friends and let that be it. But besides all that, it's just like you got something like that, and it was organic. They're not applying this on any other IP that's already been well established. They create the woman who created the show decided to put on her big girl pants and created her own show, and it was well crafted. very well crafted, and she got a wide audience. I'm pretty sure a lot of them coming from the LGBTQ plus community. You have your stuff. You have plenty of stuff. Some of them are just not satisfied or just leaving it there and take the W, take the knee, and let it go. But no, they want everything. It's like the rest of us got to have our stuff. And I'm sorry that we're the majority of the populace, but we got to have our stuff. We can't have your thing mix it in with our stuff any more than you want our straight things mixed in and thrown into your stuff. Okay? Sometimes gatekeeping is pretty necessary.
Perceive. Yeah, probably because 80% of the world's population is heterosexual, and really I think it's higher, like 90%, but there are opportunists out there who claim they are a different sexuality in order to open up career paths for them and opportunities.
And I don't buy that queer, non-binary crap either. It's just like the whole trans part should have been like the last. You keep adding letters and colors to the flag, and at a certain point, we gotta all collectively say, stop. It's LGBT. That's it. Okay? You just skated by with the whole T part. Just let it be. Okay? The whole queer thing, you got certain celebrities like, I'm queer. It's like, no, you're not. You got a full-blown marriage with the opposite sex with, 2 to 3 kids for the past decade. Don't try to ride this bandwagon so you can get more acting jobs. Have some self-respect. Queer this. It's like, it's so... it's a trend. I'm sorry. It's just trying to... JoJo Siwa kind of proved it to you guys. Half of this stuff is probably a bunch of crap
for them in the world, but you're really shocked that they want to quote unquote pander to the majority of the people in the world. Plus, you are talking about NetEase here, a Chinese company. Do you really think a CCP entity is worried about pandering to a very small group of people? No, of course not. If you want queer couples, go and play a different game. I mean, hell, even go play something like Apex Legends that does have a lot of LGBT relationships.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's a good point. Apex Legends and that crappy Concord game, that's like all filled with the kind of stuff that they like or they claim to like. Yet it, just like with Hazbin Hotel, which, unlike those two things, other things, Hazbin Hotel is actually pretty good. But you got plenty of stuff that is original, is strictly for the kind of things that you like. Flood that market. You don't need to just insert your opinions in every little thing that doesn't account for you, or you're not the majority of to warrant a rapid change. Like, we need more LGBT queer people. I was like, no. And like I said, kudos to these devs, and I wish more people in the comic book industry, in movies, in Hollywood in general, and you just stand on business and say no. Okay, either make your own stuff or enjoy the little that we have out there that is something that you would clearly like, and stop. Okay, stop intruding on things that the general public likes how it is. It's not offensive to say that. I think it's like more than fair. I'm not saying you can't have anything. I'm not saying you can't have it's a plethora of characters before the whole they gotten woke and everything like that. But prior to all that stuff, there's been years of comic book characters that identified as a certain demographic that you could latch onto, or at least tell the comic book industry to prop them up a lot more. Get better writers to actually come up with some good ideas and prop them up. Uh, you don't need to just rapidly change an already existing character to change that's been known to be one way for the longest time, and then retroactively change them in another way, just to try to get them, you know, just to please a certain market. It's so lazy.
In an exclusive interview with the gamer discussing all things about Rival's first anniversary, the development team at NetEase suggested that it wasn't necessarily intentional, and they just pick the hero combinations according to what fits perfectly with a new season's theme.
And I doubt, and I'm pretty sure it's changed on the wiki, but I highly doubt that when Angela was created, for probably several years before she probably was moved over into Marvel from Image, because that's where she originally was from. Because she was like a Spawn supporting character, I think. She was. Now, I could be wrong, because I didn't read Angela like that. But I do recognize her as she popped up in certain older Spawn comics. But I'm pretty sure she was just a straight character until a certain moment when she probably got, not too long after she got over to Marvel, then all of a sudden she had like a girlfriend. Now, I think she could probably slightly get away with that as opposed to somebody like Iceman. But who knows how big of the Angela fans out there in the world. But it probably was never as big as somebody like Iceman fans, who the vast majority probably are still sore about the fact that what they changed that character to, and they ruin any potential legit good stories they could do with them, because the only thing they can tell, or they try to make him out to be, is just like all only about his sexual orientation and nothing else.
They go on to say Marvel Rivals' lack of queer representation is due to what fits perfectly with a season's theme, says NetEase. When we're designing and introducing new heroes, we always take inspiration from the character relationships in the Marvel comics, and when we have a good season theme coming up, we'll pick our hero combinations according to what fits perfectly with the theme. That rings true with the Season of Love's introduction of Rogue and Gambit, but it avoids the fact that overt queer relationships are clearly absent. Unfortunately, due to the nature of the interview being a one-shot email, we couldn't quickly follow up on the question. However, we did send a follow-up request based on this, and they say that Rivals features many prominent LGBTQ plus characters, but this still isn't good enough for them. You are literally sitting here saying, yeah, it's filled to the brim.
What's this? Magic, who identifies as pansexual. Loki. Oh yeah, I forgot. Loki gender fluid. Yeah, they, and it was like at least a couple of years, probably since season 2 of the Loki TV show, where they push him to be gender fluid. Since in the comments they refer to him as like they them, and it's so annoying every time I read anything with Loki in it, and it's like, that's why it's like, comics is having like a tough time right now because of this crap. And that's why people are more hyper focused, more so on Elseworld stories like the new Ultimate Marvel Universe and DC's Absolute comics, for the most part. But golly, man, it's just like, it was so unnecessary. And hopefully that crap, goes away, so the comics will eventually follow suit, and it's like, no, he's a he. Sure, he can change his form, but doesn't make him like a they them. Okay, it was never like a thing. He's always been able to change form, but lo and behold, all of a sudden he's like identifies as they them, and they just threw that in there retroactively. Star-Lord, I buy he being a polyamorous relationship, because he like Iron Man and Iceman and Human Torch, he gets with the ladies. So yeah, he probably, I wouldn't say like he polyamorous, but it's just like, I don't know why they need to throw that in there. He just like hooking up with chicks, and sometimes he had 3 ways. Okay, you don't need to add a label to it. And it's not bisexual. When do they make? I hope I'm reading this correctly, because if I am, Star-Lord is not fucking bisexual. Why are they throwing these things on characters that isn't never been into anything beyond what has been the case? Magic being pansexual, it doesn't even mean anything. Pansexual don't even mean any freaking thing. They making up stuff almost every other year. There's always something new they want to add on, because it's always some thing that somebody's into and they gotta be seen. And at a certain point, we gotta. That's what I say. Like, the trans part should have. That's where it should have stopped. Okay, you filled your little quota. Okay. It's too much. Oh, golly, I can't believe this crap.
Rim with the characters I like, but it's not enough and I demand more. This is why nobody takes these outlets seriously anymore. The Kotakus, the Polygons, the gamers, you guys are absolute jokes. And this has led to a lot of people on social media who don't actually play this game or care about the video game industry saying it's...
And I'm glad there's no freaking reference to any of that crap in the Marvel Rivals game. I don't remember... Sure, they added Lady Loki and everything, but there's no... I didn't hear anything about them, they come referencing Loki. He. There's no reference to Star-Lord banging dudes. There's no reference to him like hooking up with anybody, period. But we know Star-Lord being like a player. And Magic, there's no reference in the game of any dialogue about relationship with whatever the heck. Oh, golly. Just leave stuff alone. Let things be sometime.
It's not good enough and we need to cancel them over this. Queer people are not a theme. You even added a canonical lesbian to your game already, and when you were doing a love-themed season, you gave her nothing and created some fuck-ass Scarlet Witch and Venom ship instead. It's homophobia. That's all.
And can we acknowledge the fact that homophobia is like a fear of gay people? I don't think anybody's afraid of gay people. It's not like hydrophobia, fear of water. Because if you have hydrophobia, you wouldn't go anywhere near the ocean, or you get super freaked out by water, just like losing your mind and like going into panic attacks. Nobody goes into panic attacks if they're around somebody who happens to be gay, or they get freaked out like people with hydrophobia or something like that. I'm just using that as an example. Nobody's like truly afraid. There's no phobia. It's just like they just don't F with it. There's no phobia about it. And sometimes that you gotta let that be. If there are people out there, probably a very small minor people who don't really F with or like to associate with anybody from the homosexual community, it's their prerogative. As long as they ain't doing any harm to them, then it's their prerogative. Because I don't think any rational person will want anybody from any community to be harmed in any kind of way. But it's just outside of that, is whatever they want to do.
Draw inspiration from the comics, but you put Venom and Wanda in the intro animation to the love-themed season instead of representing the canon lesbian character Angela. And if they didn't want to put in non-playable characters, they could have just put in Eddie and Venom. Queer people are constantly deprived.
And that gotta stop too. The whole idea of trying to ship Eddie and Venom into some kind of gay relationship, that crap gotta stop. He's a living organism uh, a parasite that gives him super abilities that kind of feeds on his negative emotions sometimes. You don't need to try to like put him in like a gay relationship. Stop. Don't y'all see like what's happening? I think more and more people are starting to see, but it's just like none of these people in this industry, because they're afraid of losing their jobs or getting blasted on social media and losing any kind of finances or whatever. But they know this is stupid. They know this is like a trend. This is not going to work, but we just got to ride this wave because I ain't trying to lose my livelihood, which is fair, but it's just like, if they ask you point blank, is this right? It's like, no, this is dumb. But I gotta do it.
Any representation because it might upset a bunch of bigots. Representation matters, and we deserve better from these fuck-ass companies. Entire season about
Wolverine's son, Daken, was made into some kind of bisexual character. I don't know when that started. It gotta be sometime after the Dark Reign stuff. But I want to let that one slide because that seemed a little bit more organic because he, at that time, was a relatively new character.
Love Netties, yeah, but we have to stay on theme, so yeah, sorry, no LGBT stuff for you. I'm not surprised since it's a Chinese company. Watch them not do anything for pride.
And Daken, before we even knew about his any kind of sexual orientation, like he was like a well-crafted character.
Either. Yeah, again, all you do by adding in these different events based on all of these days is divide your player base. I wouldn't want a straight Pride Day, so why is it you need a gay Pride Day? Is it really that serious?
And to the normal people in the LGBTQ community, I kind of wish was a lot more of you. There's something to speak up, but I wish there was more of you who see the nonsense spewing out of some people in your community's mouths that kind of forcing this kind of crap on everybody, and you're gonna smack them on top of the head. It's like, hey, I don't need all that extra stuff. We don't need all this extra stuff. Stop, because he's end up hurting us in the end, because you want to end up pushing this narrative so much, we're going to have people who weren't against us now being against us because you can't just be satisfied with what we have. I wish there was a lot more of them just like, hey, chill out.
Yes. Doing mental gymnastics just because you don't want to put a real queer content and representation in the game. And while there are a lot of people upset over this, there are also a ton of gamers who are saying, yeah, they just want to make money. Are you really that shocked by it? Translation, piss off. We want to make actual money. TLDR, we don't cater to you. We cater to our core audience and the one that pays. It makes sense. Netties, continue to make your game how you want it, and hopefully they'll all go play Apex or another Concord looking game. Yeah, in just a couple of weeks they can play Highguard. Surely they'll show up for that, right, guys? Right? Finally, a game that doesn't listen to the loud minority. I love how they're upset at one frame of Scarlet Witch and Venom, even if there's no lore about it. There's people saying translation. We saw what happened with Concord, and the Access media and some of these individuals who are complaining right now have been very upset over the sexuality that is highlighted in this game. They say, oh, they're dressing their characters up like strippers and they're trying to appeal to gooners. I mean, the gamer even called this a gooner game before, so it...
What, you mean like actual attractive people? Both men and women? Things that the general public all around the world seems to gravitate to. We like looking at Emma Frost's thick thighs, Squirrel Girl's big butts. Kind of costumes that majority of the women would love to cosplay as because they find it attractive and good looking. Cute outfits. Like looking cute. Sexy even. They also happen to like, you know, big burly jack dudes, so they can like, ogle. Nobody wants to look at slobs. It's never been a thing. We are attracted by things that looks good, both men and women, all across the board. Even people in the homosexual community likes looking at good-looking people. Stop trying to like front like, the whole stuff with Apex Legends and Concord was any way, shape, or form appealing to anybody. It was not. Compare like the characters in Concord to the characters in Marvel Rivals, ignoring the fact that these are Marvel characters and it's like, just plain characters, and look at them side by side, and you see a stark contrast. One is good looking, the other is not. Your eyes seem to just naturally veer towards what is just naturally appealing, and your eyes is kind of like either repulsed or just naturally just looks away, because nobody looks at like flubby, unappealing, slob of characters trying to make it look like, actual people. We look at actual people in our day-to-day lives. Playing video games is a fantasy, and we like to look at, very sexual appealing characters that we more often than not won't see in our day-to-day lives like that. There are people out there who are like that, but ain't like, they are just walking around willy-nilly. There's not many people that looks like Frank Castle or Daredevil for the girls to kind of ogle at. There's not many Emma Frost Storm looking characters for the guys to just like, try to holler at. Not that many. Especially not in America.
Just shows how desperate they've been for a gotcha against this team, and how desperate they've been to try to find another reason to cancel them. But the actual fans of this title are defending it tooth and nail, and I'm fine with having a LGBTQ plus relationship in a game very occasionally, but we have seen overrepresentation in this industry over the last decade, and now it's gone to the point where this loud minority will try to get your...
That's a word we need to start like taking a zero in on. Over representation, overdoing it. Okay, you overplayed your hand. Now people are sick of it. It's fatigue. It's annoying. Now people need to start thinking about scaling this kind of crap back, so we can find some level of a middle ground. So that way, people can, well, I don't even want to use the word seen, but just get back to normal basis of just making normal video games with good looking characters with great stories behind them, backing them up. Don't give a damn about what their sexual orientations are. Like I said, like Hazbin Hotel is a great TV show. Didn't really give a crap about relationship people had, because there was such a layer story backing them up, so that way we can care about them. So when we do see them in relationships, we give a crap. I shouldn't just give a crap just because I'm like, I want to be a good ally and just give a crap just on that sole basis. And like I don't need to see black people in every little thing imaginable, because not everything ain't meant for black people. Sometimes I want to see like a James Bond to be a white, straight, British, handsome dude who's banging a lot of chicks and killing bad guys and saving the day, drinking martinis in between time. Okay? Some things ain't meant for everybody. You gotta get over it.
Company buried and canceled if you do not make every character LGBTQ or stunning and brave. And judging by some of the responses here, Yeah, these people were just desperate for
If they
an
throw in like a
angle
trans character
against
in
this
this
team.
game,
So at the end of the day, I don't think
it'll
that they needed
the
to
sales will
respond to the
plummet.
gamer. I don't think they needed to try to answer
Online
this
play will
question because
plummet.
they did really beat around the bush, and now it's just going to give the Wokies more ammunition against their title. But the developers,
And you know what probably helps is the fact that the developers aren't from the West, so they're not inclined to follow the same kind of crap the West has been doing with trying to push a certain narrative because that's where the pendulum is at right now, or that's what's profitable. It's like, no, we know what's profitable. We care about these characters and the stories they come from. I ain't just throwing in gay people here and there, like flooding the market with it because a small minority is begging for it where they're not the majority. If they were the 80 percentile, then maybe we can talk, but they're not.
have now upset a couple of snowflakes, and the real fans of this game are going to stick around and still play it because they just enjoy the gameplay and the majority of the characters, while the mob on social media is now saying, no, 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 this can't be. We need to cancel this title because they were not the target audience for this game and they are seething over it. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't, give it a dislike.
Alright, yeah, definitely follow her because she's amazing, very base. I love her content, like her takes on video games and other pop culture stuff. But yeah, this is like, at a certain point, it gotta stop. Because some of these people, not all of them, there's some rational people from the LGBTQ community out there in the world. But there's too many of the loud minorities of that minority are running rampant in certain industries. They're trying to force their ideology into everything. And it's annoying. And it's nauseating. And you're going to get certain people who weren't against the homosexual community, but are no doubt going to turn against them and feel like very negative feelings towards them because of the domino effect they started. But they won't acknowledge what they started. They're only going to see the end result. It's like, oh, you're just being a homophobe. But no, you are not acknowledging what led up to this. He or she did not care about the homosexual community, didn't have no beef with y'all until you kept inundating all the stuff that they like into like every facet of pop culture as possible. Can't watch even like a normal Blues Clues episode without some kind of like, oh, this is like Marty the mailman who happens to bring his boyfriend along to the cookout. It's like, oh my god. It's like, there's no reason. You can't just have like an average, it's just like a read or a watch or something without some kind of message or agenda. But I'm curious to know what you guys think. I said my piece, but it's just like, like I'm props to the developers of Marvel Rivals who are standing on business, and I kind of wish a lot more people in the comic book industry and the Hollywood in certain studios would just a lot more of them stand on business. And it's like, no, we're not making this or getting or drowning our product into all this mess. We just want to make good stories for the general public, not for a certain demographic. If you want to make that kind of stuff for your particular community, then by all means do so. But don't get all agitated and butthurt because not everybody's going to come clamoring to support it because they don't have any interest in it. You gotta face reality. Anyway, Leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys in a little bit for another video. So, yep. Take care. See y'all soon.